everybody! Hello, Vegas. Welcome back to Rose Guns Days. Last time we moved a bit forward with the assassination plan, which got in a few hitches even though this target is a frickin' generic mook. And we should have no trouble getting him because he just literally doesn't even have his own fucking sprite. Hello T, welcome to the stream. And more importantly though, our newest and I believe the boss for this final arc, a mysterious member of the American Army who looks an awful lot like Nagito Komaeda from Danganronpa and freaking Kaworu from Evangelion. So yeah, pretty sure he's gonna be our final boss. He's probably as strong as Leo. And I can't wait until Leo comes back and they get an ultimate final duel. I'm really looking forward to that. Let's get back into it. So I told him, that's a sure thing. Pretty clean, and now it's mine. I don't get it. As they chatted happily about stupid things, they looked like a pair of close school friends. However, Alan's eyes never once left his binoculars, and Keith's remained on his gun sight. Even though nearly a full day and night had passed since they had set up camp on this roof and entered sniping positions, there was a relaxed atmosphere, as though there were a bunch of female students chatting in a cafe. Oh, spotted a cat going after a bra. Oh? Where? Give me a hint. It's pretty high up. Whoa, careful there. I know it's interesting because it's swinging, but you can't eat that. What is this, judgment? It's like, do you get extra SP for fighting cats in your investigation? I see it. It's probably enjoying it because it's hanging out to dry. Hey, let's shoot it and knock it down. That'll totally give away your position. Easy. But I don't want to waste my bullets on a granny bra like that. C cup, D cup, got nosebleed coming up. I'll laugh to death. You're killing me. Normally, snipers wait by killing their mines and waiting for their prey, like a lizard or a deep sea fish. Once even Keith had believed that was the only rule. However, Alan had torn that boring common knowledge apart. Keith believed that Alan's skill, which was no greater or lesser than his own sniping ability, was in his ability to joke. At first, he had mocked it. He believed that having a heart as cold as rock was a requirement for pulling off the perfect job. However, he had been wrong. Rocks are easily cracked and can even crumble. However, willows are different. They may shake in the wind, but they never snap. Keith had been made deeply aware of that on the vicious, parched battlefield. The part of Alan's character that made him never forget humor no matter the situation had certainly earned him the displeasure of his bullying superior officers. Damn, they're like telling us they went through a whole character arc that we didn't see. Despite that, he never let it get to him. And it even earned him the favor of some superiors who found it amusing. Hello, Mystery Theater. Welcome to the stream. If it weren't for Alan, Keith would have never survived those 3 months fighting all alone, much less the time spent at the prison camp. The harder you try to be a rock, the more fragile you are. When you crack, you crumble to pieces in a flash. Only Alan's cheeriness could have given him the strength to survive the harsh life in the army and in that prison camp. since then, Alan was nothing less than the son to keep. Oh my god! Seriously! God! When he couldn't see Alan, it was the sun had set. Okay. Yeah, they're definitely doing something here. Definitely. It's a whole love triangle, really, with Alan at the center. Without a doubt. Like, with a line like this. Whenever he couldn't see Alan, it was as though the sun had set and night had fallen. I mean, come the fuck on. Oh. Yep. Nope. Without a doubt. Shippity ship. Without a fucking doubt. And when Alan showed himself, it was as though the sun had risen and morning had come. So even though it was getting late and the air was chilly, their brightness remained unchanged. As long as they... Look at that! With lines like that! Seriously. As long as they remained together, the sun would never set. I don't know about on Alan's side, but I'm pretty sure Keith does. What's the time? I'm glad you asked. Prom time is drawing near. Let's get our spirits up. Roger that. If he doesn't show up, this is gonna turn into a long job. If he doesn't show up by midnight, let's contact Oliver Kuhn. They won't be able to remain tense for so long. They better take shifts. Young kids got no endurance. Dude, you two look like you're fucking in high school. Like, my god, I don't know if the artist got the memo that these two are supposed to be back from a war, but they look like they're fresh out of high school. Like, especially Keith looks like could easily be a young teenager. I feel like a private first class. There was no trace of weariness about them. Relaxation and concentration. The combination of those two things made this pair geniuses at sniping. Then they both tensed up at the same moment. The headlights of several cars were coming down the street in front of the hotel. There were 3 cars. They all stopped in front of the hotel. The snipers had had the hotel under constant observation since the previous night, and they had never seen 3 cars stop at this desolate hotel at once. That's not what we'd expected. The bosses said Davis would be alone. It's fine. This just makes it easier to tell. Sniping was the right decision. If the plan was to take him out at close range, they would have taken us out instead. Normally, the best plan for taking Davis out would be to ambush him in the hotel. However, they had made the correct decision in sniping, after considering Davis's good instincts and the chance that he would bring a large group of underlings like this. Suited, grim-faced, obviously well-muscled men came out of the cars one after another. With their hands clearly in their pockets, they scattered around the area, glaring at all parts of the dim street. Bosses didn't want witnesses, right? Ooh. Yeah, we were told to keep them as few as humanly possible. Jeez, wow. But if we let the chance slip by, who knows if we'll get another? I know. The bosses said not letting them get away was our first priority. So, do we take him? Oh my god, you're right, Mystery Theater. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, it's a very similar love triangle to Caleb, Amanda, and Miguel, isn't it? I wonder if they're going to bring them back for that purpose. So do we take him? Though if we don't want witnesses, maybe we should take them all out. One shot will be fine. Let's just take him down. After that, when it gets crazy and the police show up, I'm sure they'll run home. Wonder how much it's gonna cost to have Butler to hush this up. That Butler. Ever notice how he looks nothing like me and his voice sounds so completely different? Yeah, I know, right? Who would ever mistake you two? Seriously. How much is it gonna cost? You don't mean we're paying, right? If we take him out without getting the captain involved, they said we may get a bonus. Hey, I never heard about that. From what they'd heard before, this man was a swindler pretending to be a young businessman, but he supposedly wasn't connected to any organization. They hadn't expected him to come with such a large guard. No, he might have just brought bodyguards so he could act important. However, they had heard about his good instincts. He might have gotten bodyguards because he's predicted an attack from somewhere. Yeah, probably. After confirming that the surrounding area was safe, one of the men knocked on the window of the middle car. There's no one in sight. It's safe. You're sure, right? There's not even a cat looking about out there, right? Of course not. If there had been one, we would have chased it away. No more evil cats to get you. The guards probably interpreted Davis's caution as cowardice. Davis seemed extremely displeased that they took it this way, and he gazed all around through the window, looking discouraged. He even glanced at the roof of the building Alan and Keith were on, but at this distance and in this darkness, there was no chance of him spotting them. Davis opened the door a bit violently as he tried to prove he wasn't a coward, and he got out of the car. That stupid woman! I told her to get her luggage ready and wait in the front hall! She's still getting her makeup on, isn't she? Damn, this is what you can't trust, woman! Is that him? Checking... Give me additional confirmation, please. Alan was checking the target's facial features with his binoculars. It was almost certainly Davis, but they couldn't afford to shoot an uninvolved person, even if it was a mistake. Keith's sniper scope confirmed that the man coming out of the car was their leader. I couldn't accurately pick out his facial features, but from the cutscene we just saw, it's definitely him. And we can't even pick out his facial features because he doesn't even have his own sprite. So we're just left with the text boxes to tell us that that's him. If he walked a few steps more, the light of the hotel entrance would shine on his face. Then they'd be able to confirm that he was Davis Degawa himself. I think I know what might happen. Like, they're about to shoot, but then the girl comes out of the hotel, and it's surprising who that girl is. I don't know who it could possibly be, though, because it's probably not Alan's girlfriend, and maybe it's someone new? I don't know. Could be. Silently, Keith's gun barrel and sights focused on the top of the target's head. Lots of people close the eye not on their sights when shooting. But Keith was different. Keith's right eye accurately lined up the target's head through the sights. And his left eye judged the distance between him and the target. It is a creepy sprite, like with his eyes like that. It looks like he has a freaking Sharingan there. With his right and left eyes looking at different things, he viewed the world between himself and the target in 3 dimensions. Is it really a member of the freaking Uchiha clan here? It was a special sniping technique he had learned from his father, one which had passed down through his Uchiha clan for generations. Dang. One step at a time, the target approached the light of the lobby. Hello, Alex Fernsby. Welcome to the stream. Oh, it is someone we've seen. Okay, thank you, Alex. Although, yeah. Don't tell me who it is before we see her. The light seeping out of the lobby started at the target's feet and slowly rose up his body. All right. The face was clearly lit up by the lights. There was no doubt. It was Davis Tagawa himself. The street light was in the way. Let him walk a few more steps. It's the girl is gonna throw them off because it's gonna, yeah. Oh snap! Somebody interrupted. Ooh, is somebody gonna beat them to the punch? At that moment, they suddenly heard the screech of tires. David was shocked and he rushed into the shadows like a scared cat. Oh, typo here. His sudden rapid motion was too much for even Keith to track. What happened? There's a car coming? What's going on? With screeching tires, a single beat-up car came sliding down the street. It wasn't able to make the turn. And it came to a stop after pathetically slamming its side against a fire hydrant. Yes, Zarvegas, that is what happened last time. I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's any magic in Rose Gun Stays, though. So, yeah. It's a bit too late in the story to introduce something like that. The guards all drew their pistols, standing ready with killing intent. Then, several young people got out of the car, scratching their heads. The Wandering Dogs! Why are they here now? Oliver? What are they doing? Why are they getting in the way? Don't they know about the plan? What the fuck is going on? Oh, dang. Couldn't make the turn. What's wrong with you, asshole? Next time I drive. What is it? Who are these people? Well, they look like a bunch of dumb kids. I'm sure they were just driving around some car they stole. No, I don't like this. I have a bad feeling about this. The top of my head itches when things like this happen. By now, Davis wasn't even hiding his caution. He curled up into a ball, unashamed of looking like a coward, while the guards formed a human wall as he dashed into the hotel. It's no use. There was no chance they'd find a chance to snipe like this. Ah! What's going on? I don't get it. Probably means the situation's changed. I see. So they did it to stop the assassination. Interesting. Huh. I wonder what changed with the situation. I wonder why they want to keep Davis alive. They'd only exchanged a few words with Oliver, but he had been introduced as a person worthy of Wayne's trust. Such a man would never interfere with a plan to eliminate Primavera's enemies, nor would he screw up. Yeah, he seemed pretty confident. This was probably a message to stop the attack. Alan and Keith hadn't told the others where they were sniping from, so this was probably the only way to prevent the attack. After that, there were no more opportunities to snipe Davis. But it looks like they don't want him sniped anymore. I mean, couldn't they have just gone up the building to Alan and Keith and told them to stand down? I think that would be a lot safer. He hid his body behind a wall of guards, curled up like a hedgehog as he dashed out of the hotel with his woman. Alan and Keith could only look on regretfully as the line of cars drove away. They left the roof and met up with Oliver's crew. Oliver Coon, what exactly is going on here? Oh, we received an urgent message from the boss to suspend the plan. By boss, do you mean Wayne Coon? Or our boss? No. I heard it was from the grand boss. What's going on? I don't have a clue. Just when we finished waiting a whole day just to plant a bullet in the top of his head. I'm beat. Want to take a shower. Don't get sulky, partner. Let's hear why this thing got suspended. We don't know the details either, but it sounds like he's got someone's backing. Backing? Ooh, it's probably the new boss. By someone big enough to stop the Great Primavera, which controls City 23? Didn't know there were any names that big left in the city. Oh, I see. They didn't know where Alan and Keith were. I thought they had told them. Okay, thank you, Alex. What could be Alfred?
Hey, it's me, Alfred Akagi. What you gonna do? Long time no see, everybody. No need to worry, for I am healthy, energy, vitality. Woo! That's nice. Sounds like her in his high spirits as if.
I can't believe they're friends with him now. He was like the pre-game boss of some shit. He was the tutorial boss. I can't believe this.
I've heard the rumors about you. Sounds like you and your henchman have been running about, robbing banks and really raking it in. Money's important. I have to give my henchman a feast. I need many, many monies. I know it's been a while, so let me explain. We changed a bit since you last threatened us. We're a whole big mafia family now. Now we're a luxury establishment, even employing the girls favored by the great director general. Of course I know. Primavera has grown magnificently. But me, I'm the kind of man who burns more and more. The biggest my enemies are. You haven't changed, crazy Alfred. But we sure have.
The Alfred family is supposedly dispersed. It's like freaking One Piece. Nobody can die. No matter how many bullets and like lethal supposedly wounds fly around, literally they can just shake it off with some bandages. Nobody can die. However, he was a persistent man. He had never surrendered himself. He had restarted from square one, trying to raise his flag and steadily gathered money and henchmen. Most villains had huddled under the big tree in Primavera, but there were quite a few who didn't. Plenty of villains felt more comfortable with Alfred's crazy personality instead of Rose's pretty talk. After gathering up those people who just wanted to run wild, Alfred had returned.
Davis took always a friend of mine. It's not unlucky what happened to him. No matter what it is, I will consider what Primavera's doing, and will have very much revenge to give you as a present.
You know, it'd be hilarious if Leo came back just in time to have to deal with him again, and he just freaking one-shots him. Like, that would be crazy. That would be a great way to end this little part of part 3.
Nobody expects the Alfred. Didn't think that crazy man would pop up here. Why can't he die? Seriously, why can't anyone die? Nobody dies, not even fucking Miguel, who I beat within a fucking inch of his life. And somehow he miraculously lived. We should have finished him off when we had a chance. What do we do? If we're gonna go to war with him, we should start soon. He's got a strange sort of charisma. If we're careless, and start calling in all sorts of troublesome people. It's like with the friggin' mafia, for God's sake, and we can't kill a single person.
Yeah, I remember his appearance in, like, to just disrupt Rose's plan, like, inadvertently.
I did have a connection between Davis and Alfred in the back of my mind. But who could have guessed he would show up here? He's got no reins. When he fights all out no matter who it is. I know. That's why he's crazy Alfred.
Even now, after becoming a force large enough to control City 23. Alfred was a threat to them. After all, common sense didn't work on him. He didn't care about his opponent's rank. He would bite anyone and was probably more suited to the name Mad Dog than Wayne. If an all-out war were permissible, he was no match for them, of course. However, this was a slightly nervous period. They had to gain public support to establish their association. They wanted to avoid darker matters as much as possible. It's just how it happened in my time. Davis started talking big, and then Alfred picked the fight. It's the same thing again.
We should get these problem erasers. Maurice is so proud of to finish him off along with Davis. Yeah, that's our best option, although our track record when it comes to trying to kill people ain't good. It's like 0 for 50. Have we killed anyone? Rose, have we killed a single goddamn person this entire game?
No, I don't think so, actually.
Damn, we suck as a mafia. But he's no fool himself. I'm sure he knows our current situation. He must have picked this fight well known. We probably had a few assassins with us. True. Probably won't be easy to kill him.
My throat is not liking this chapter. Too many deep voiced guys in one fucking room.
James, how did you resolve your trouble last time?
Money.
He's incredibly insane, but he won't act so crazy that he kicks money away. Was that really all it took to make him go away?
Of course, there was more to it than money. But it took considerable effort.
We cannot postpone. I want the decision for the association's establishment to be made at our next meeting. And there's no time to lose. We can't let anyone get in Rosetown's way any longer. Okay, I'll have my people find his hideout. Find it even if it's in the sewers. Wait, Wayne? In this case, we don't even have time for that. Richardson, what else can we... Calm yourself. Bullets are not the only form of ammunition. Meaning? I mean we should follow James's precious advice. Contact Alfred. Tell him I wish to resolve this through negotiations. Richardson, are you planning to do whatever that crazy guy says? Money is also ammunition. If you don't fire it off at the right time, then when will you ever? Leave it to me. I'll show you that violence can be quelled with wealth. Yeah, but he's crazy, Alfred. Huh? Yuki-chan, you're here already? Well, you've never shown up first before.
Thank goodness, Alan. Whenever they met it for a date, Alan has always arrived first. It was the first time she had beaten him, and so early too. I think she's gonna fake break up with him because of family pressures and shit. I'm really glad it's your dangerous job and it's safe for you.
It's not exactly over, though. Well, you know, trash never really goes away.
The higher-ups had postponed Davis's sniping while they tried to resolve things with Alfred. Of course, Alan had used that precious break to invite Yuki to a date.
I'm glad you're safe, too.
Huh?
You said you were going to a conference with some mafia types, right? I was worried you might not make it back safely.
He had probably been worried that she, as a normal civilian, might have gotten into trouble while tangling with Primavera's bosses. However, she was Lee Meiju's little sister. She wasn't in the Mafia herself, but she had the backing of the GDS. Alan didn't know that she wasn't a person Primavera could touch easily. Thank you. But I told you, didn't I? I'm used to dealing with people like that. The discussion did get fierce, but it ended with us peacefully drinking together before going home.
Oh, that's awesome! Nice going, Yuki-chan! Sounds like you'll make it big in the future. So let's head to that restaurant as promised. I've got reservations.
Oh, so you're nervous about going?
No, that you know that's not what I mean.
Yeah, I'm just teasing you. Of course. But since I'm in a good mood, let's start by giving you 10 points.
Whoa, they keep rolling in. I want to ask you where you live next.
Uh-oh. What's wrong? Alan's joking face suddenly went stiff. Somebody's following them. However, it quickly softened again, and he picked up his pace while putting his arm across Meishua's shoulder. What's going on? I'm in high heels today, so go a bit slower.
Do you know anyone in Chinatown?
China what? I thought we were in Japan.
Two Chinese thugs have been following us for the last 2 blocks. They're probably underlings of the GDS.
GDS? What's that?
Any idea why they might be here?
No, not at all. Alan realized that he was probably being followed. Primavera knew Crazy Alfred was backing Davis. But what if Alfred was in turn being backed by the GDS? That's the Chinese for you. So you're pretending to support the new association while scheming to crush it at the same time. No, I'm pretty sure that's not true. Now there's a nice negotiating trick. Lee Meiju's a good guy. At the same time, Meishui realized that she was being followed. They're probably keeping an eye on her because of Lee Meiju. Yep. Lee Meiju being a concerned older brother. Her brother had apparently guessed that the phone call the other day was from his sister's boyfriend. He must have sent some of his young troops to see what sort of man she was dating. Sheesh. This is why I hate the Mafia! Brother, you could just hit your head on a piece of mama and Toby would die! Hello, James. Welcome to the stream. Oh my god, I gotta read James's line.
I bet those scum of the GDS are following us. Damn it, I knew everyone related to that Lee Meiju was pure scum. Yuki-chan, did you tell anyone about the restaurant we're going to today?
No, I told nobody.
So, what to do?
He knew she hated violence. However, that might be unavoidable depending on how those men acted.
What should I do? Should I just confess already that I love a good fight? Of course, I'll try to avoid violence as much as possible in the future. But just this once, I may have to ask her to let it slide.
Mei Shui could hear what Alan was thinking, without him even opening his mouth. Oh no! Alan's ready to go at them! He's such a vigorous person after all. I guess it's only normal for a man to want to chase away suspicious people and show us his stuff, his string to his girlfriend. But Alan, you've got to stop. You're an ordinary citizen, and they're in the mafia. They're also just itching to make a name for themselves. Did he already fight? If Alan got beaten to a pulp and she had to intervene, that would wound his pride. And if by some miracle Alan took them down, he would have to face a terrible reprisal later. Hey, Alan, are you sure it isn't just your imagination?
My imagination? No, it's not. Those glinting eyes, they're filled with murderous intent, you know?
Are you sure you were just imagining it because you want to show off to me? Would you mind waiting here a second? Brother. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. I'm going to go talk to them.
What? That's dangerous. Who knows what they do to you?
Trust me. Leave it to me. I'll prove it's just a misunderstanding, and some people should mind their own goddamn business! If they try to do something violent to me, I give you permission to act. See? Does that work for you?
Be careful, okay? You can never trust a Chinese.
Oh, God! Oh, God! Oh, no, Alan, no! Oh, my God. Oh, Alan. Oh, my God. Even Alan wasn't 100% sure he was being tailed. 70% at most. Their traditional GDS clothing stood out when they walked in the middle of the street like this, so he might be mistaken to think they were being followed.
Come to think of it, what would be the point of them tailing me? When the GDS moves, it's simple. Bang! That should have been all.
However, just in case, Alan quietly released the safety in his brain.
If they lay a finger on her, I'll show no mercy.
Mei Shui glanced back to make sure Alan was waiting obediently. There's a good boy. Just wait there for a bit. When Mei Shui approached the two stalkers, they pretended not to notice her, looking the other way and putting cigarettes in their mouths. Okay, nice work, boys. Did my brother put you up to this? Don't play dumb. If you do, I'll tell brother you touched my ass.
Please forgive us, young miss. The boss ordered us to guard you from afar.
No, thank you. No need to butt into my personal life. Tell my brother I said that.
That won't do. Please tell that to the boss directly if you would, young miss.
Of course I'll be grabbing him by the collar and telling him! So please, go home. If you don't run off before I count to 3, I'll cry Lister and make sure brother hears about it too! Got it? Here I go! Her son! They couldn't afford to have rumors going around that they had messed with the boss's sister. The two of them scrambled away. Holding you guys 1 second. Alan's eyes went wide as he watched this scene. Hold on 1 second, you guys. They were lost. I told them where to go. As in right up their fucking asses. And they dashed off.
Wow, Yuki-chan. You really are cosmopolitan. You even speak Chinese fluently. Who would have guessed?
Yeah. Didn't I tell you? I knew 7 languages. I'm a regular polyglot. Of course, Chinese is one of them.
Still, I'm glad. I was here shuddering, wondering if they'd suddenly take you hostage or something. You get villains everywhere, but the Chinese are particularly ruthless. You better be careful, huh?
That's not true. There are plenty of Chinese gentlemen.
Well, you're talking about friends from school, they probably were. But there's one Chinese guy, this Lee Meiju. I'm telling you, he is the worst of the worst. Don't you even think of going near him. Him and probably everyone he's related to are just pure scum.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
But the Chinese people hanging around City 23 are all creeps. You should be on your guard.
Shut up. It's the creeps who are dangerous, not the Chinese in general. Stop being a racist asshole.
Well, I'm not saying that all the Chinese are villains, but it's still safer to assume that they are when you're living around here.
Oh, God. You know, Mei Shui kind of rubbed me the wrong way at first, but I think I'm really warming up to her. She's very cute. She had a bad first impression, but I think I'm starting to like her a lot. Even though Mei Shui had been looking forward to this date so much, the food didn't seem delicious today. Alan's casually spoken views of the Chinese had driven an insurmountable wedge between the two. Yeah, it definitely would. When I first met Alan, I spoke in fluent Japanese, so he naturally believed that I was Japanese. I might have confessed to being Chinese right then and there, but I wanted to see his amiable smile a bit longer. So unfortunately, I lied. Mei Shui was no fool. She knew of the Chinese-Japanese relationship as members of winning and losing countries. If she announced that she was Chinese, that would almost certainly estrange him. She might never get to see him again. Thinking that she had lied, saying she was just a girl returned from a long period of study overseas, and therefore ignorant about Japan. And he's just a guy in the mafia who's lying to her about that. And she doesn't want to say you later, boy. Whatever. I can't sing. Of course, she hadn't planned on fooling him forever. She had intended to confess her nationality someday. In that case, you can't let it get you down, Li Meishui. You have to straighten out his misconceptions and prejudices against the Chinese. Even I half believed the Japanese were all Chanmei until I studied overseas.
The Chinese? Well, lots of them are pretty fun guys, you know. When you're drunk, it doesn't matter if you're Japanese or Chinese.
Then what about when you're sober? Do you think we can get along well with the Chinese?
I doubt it.
Oh no.
You know that they hate us, right?
There was a war after all. Oh shit, fuck, shit. Both sides hate each other, right?
After all, we fought out in China. Well, they never got to fight it out in Japan.
Well, I mean, you invaded us. I mean us, I mean them. I didn't say us. Shut up!
To the Chinese, it probably feels like they just got beat up one-sidedly, but never had a chance to pay Japan back.
On the inside, the Japanese of this period probably felt that both parties bore responsibility. Really? Damn, wow. And Japanese should be given a break since that's how war worked. Really? That sounds hilarious.
Like, we totally invaded your country, but to be fair, you gotta take some of the blame here.
Really? Oh my god. That just sounds hilarious to me. After all, the damage caused to Japan by the Great Disaster was no more or less than what China had suffered. Yeah, but they didn't do it to you. However, that had only been a natural disaster. It wasn't a counterattack by the Chinese military. In truth, the Chinese of that period weren't completely satisfied. After all, the Japanese military had attacked the Chinese mainland. The Chinese military had only been resisting that invasion, and when they were finally ready to strike back, the Great Disaster broke out in Japan, which surrendered all on its own. In other words, Japan had punched China all on its own, and as soon as China tried to fight back, Japan slipped, fell, broke its leg, and then decided for themselves that it was time to make up. There were many among the city folk of Chinese descent who weren't satisfied with the humanitarian ceasefire caused by the Great Disaster.
Yuki-chan, I know you aren't a fan of violence. But do you know the difference between fighting as a form of communication and simple violence?
Violence as a form of communication. That's not a concept I'm familiar with. But then again, I don't watch many martial arts dramas.
If you punch someone in the back all on your own, then keep punching them until they crumple, that's simple violence. That's not a fight. That's a barbarous assault, the worst sort of crap. But those fight festivals, where drunks scuffle with each other playfully, are different. Do you know why? Because you get hit just as often as they hit you. No matter how hard they smack you down, you've already punched them several times. That's why you can feel equal when it's all over.
So he's basically talking about consent. Alan's fight were always like that. He would punch and go wild. However, he'd been hit just as many times. He subconsciously gauged the difference in strength between him and his opponent naturally, and balanced it out. Interesting. The people Alan fought with always truly felt that they were fighting on even terms, and they couldn't bring themselves to hate him. I see. If you were just getting hit one-sidedly, you would never feel that way.
Berlin was laid waste by the Allied forces, right? I think that's why the French were put at ease a bit. But the Chinese never fired a bullet back at Tokyo. Of course, they aren't satisfied. Street fights and wars are the same in that way. When you hit and get hit and both sides are damaged equally, it becomes possible to rub your bruises and laugh together afterward. However, that never happened in the war between us and the Chinese, although it did in our universe. That's right. The Chinese had nowhere to direct the pain, anger, and sadness they had felt during the war. Because the war was over. So the fist they had raised in anger and sadness was still hanging there in the air. Revenge against the hated enemy which laid waste to their homeland. Oh. That feeling had been put on hold all this time. The way I see it, that great disaster will leave a wound for 100 years. One that can't be repaired with concrete. I'm sure that war should have been fought to the very end. If the Chinese and American militaries had landed on the Japanese mainland without guns blazing, ready to take their revenge, then maybe they would finally be satisfied and feel as though both sides were on an even footing. Alan muttered, without quotes. Of course, this was all just the irresponsible view of a drunk. If the world Alan envisioned did exist, that probably wouldn't have healed the anger and sadness of the Chinese nor the Japanese. In war, there is no ideal if. The very moment it breaks out, it's already a tragedy that can never be taken back. How can you possibly feel that both parties bear responsibility? Seriously. Japanese feel that both parties bear responsibility and the war is already over. They feel no resentment even though they lost. But to the Chinese, the Japanese surrendered on their own terms and they never got to punch back. The anger in their guts hadn't subsided. I'll bet that the difference in tone between the two countries gets more and more twisted over the next 100 years, turning into something disastrous. Make sure he was surprised by Alan's cool analysis. He had calmly understood at least some of the feelings she had thought a Japanese man would never understand. All of the Chinese felt some remaining sadness and anger toward the Japanese because of the war. The war was over. It wasn't permitted for them to resolve this problem through violent means. They wanted to take revenge by other means, but no matter how hard they tried, it could never compare to the losses suffered in that gruesome war. She knew full well that this was a negative emotion, not a cultural problem. However, there's no energy as simple as anger. It releases exactly as much energy as it receives. That anger would never go away unless they, by their own hands, reduced Tokyo to a pile of rubble like Chongqing. And since they couldn't do this, their anger would never go away. Of course, they also understood that doing such a thing wouldn't heal anyone. If the Japanese have trouble understanding their anger, they should think of it this way. Let's say the Chinese military attacked Japan, reducing all of it to rubble. Then when the Japanese military resisted and was about to strike back, a major disaster struck. So basically the reverse situation. The Japanese government accepts an unconditional ceasefire on humanitarian grounds. If the Chinese then said, "Hey, war's over, so let's all get along," would the Japanese be able to accept it?
paid reparations, so forgive our indiscriminate massive air raids of Tokyo. Okay? Okay, let's get back together, okay? Man, those Japanese guys sure complain about the old war a lot, even after taking our money. If they demanded that we be forgiven by trampling on Japan's human rights, it'd be hard to do. It's hard to forget. The Japanese in the ruins of Tokyo would probably shed frustrated tears, wanting to make Beijing meet the same fate. In the end, unless they could have equal revenge against their enemies, they would never stop eating at them. At the moment, China and its countrymen were enjoying the feeling of being a victor nation, so their anger toward Japan subsided somewhat. The Japanese were called up as members of a defeated nation. As long as they stayed down, the Chinese could probably keep their anger tucked away in their hearts. However, the Japanese felt that both parties had received... Again, what punishments? Like... The Chinese didn't deserve any fucking punishment in that respect. You literally freaking tried to struck out in the name of imperialism. Japan had been damaged no less than China, and they had paid reparations, so they felt all debts had been settled. It's like, I punch you, now you give me $10, like, seriously, and come on. Some even felt that since infrastructure had been built under Japanese rule in China, the Chinese should even be grateful. 100 years from now, Japan would surely try to erase the memory of the war, calling it focusing on the future or something, and claim that they left behind their status as a defeated nation. That's not, I don't know. Whenever people try to do that, it's like a freaking... It feels like it's a freaking saying, okay, enough time has passed, now let's go back to the way we were. Almost. That's what I find in, like, real history. It feels like if people are calling attention to something like that, saying that as opposed to leaving it unsaid, it means they want to be the same way they were before. Which is never a good sign. It's something rarely said in good faith. Yeah, when that happened, the Chinese people in the future probably wouldn't accept it. Exactly, yeah. After all, they've been able to postpone their anger at the Japanese because the latter was still hanging its head as a defeated nation. Meishui was vaguely starting to realize something. This is a fatal difference in culture between China and Japan. The concept of apology had a fatally different value to the two nations. To the Japanese, an apology is something you accept when you receive it. Of course, it isn't easy to accept it while you're still pissed off at someone. However, accepting it anyway and giving forgiveness is thought of as an action that shows off your tolerance. On the other hand, if you keep refusing an apology, you'd be thought of as immature, and people will look down on you even if you're the one being apologized to. Also, if you do accept the apology, then the crime is totally forgotten. It's supposed to be unmanly and shameful if you ever bring it up again. Like, seriously, that's such bullshit. Wow, jeez. However, this is only how the Japanese think, of course. The Chinese think differently. Like, it's interesting. So there's no differentiation between apology and forgiveness in that respect, which is, it seems like they don't differentiate, at least as far as the story is saying, between apology and forgiveness. And they're two very different things, at least in Western culture. Like, you can accept an accepting someone's apology is definitely not the same thing as forgiving somebody. It's the first step in that, but it is by no means the same thing. In China, an apology is something carried out when someone claims to have been reborn as a new human, one who won't commit the same sin again. Only when it's acknowledged that you've been reborn will the crime of your previous life be forgiven. Therefore, if the criminal forgets his regret and returns to how he was before his rebirth, that pardon will naturally be rescinded, and the criminal will go back to being treated like a criminal. So the Chinese would continuously check whether Japan still remained reborn as a new country repentant of its war sins. Well, this is way ahead of the timeline we're doing right here. However, to the Japanese, the 1978 Sino-Japanese Friendship Treaty meant that China has accepted Japan's apology. So according to Japanese culture, China was acting dishonorably whenever it brought up a sin that it had once forgiven. China, following Chinese culture, decided that its forgiveness of Japan should be rescinded, since the latter had forgotten its regret and was trying to return to a pre-war state. And the biggest tragedy is that neither side understands this difference between their cultures. To a Westerner, it's hard to imagine there can be such difference in values between the two neighboring countries, who even write with the same characters. You kidding me? That's super easy to understand. In America, you can have vastly different cultures within even the same country. So yeah, that's very understandable. Exactly, Mystery Theater, exactly. But please understand one thing. Westerners aren't the only ones. How can we ever... how can we ever reach a mutual understanding with the Chinese? It's impossible, isn't it? Oh, come on! Now let's forget about this. Serious talk and make out. It came so quick that Meishui was ticked off. Alan, realizing that he had misspoken, grimaced and hurriedly tried to smooth things over. But you know what? In this world, there's all kinds of people that you just can't get along with. Instead of worrying about not getting friendly with people like that, it's better using your time to search for a new friend instead. But in reality, Tokyo is currently filled with many Chinese and Japanese people living side by side. It'd be one thing if there was an ocean separating them. But since we're living in the same city, can we really ignore the problem like that? I don't think we can. I believe we can understand each other as neighbors living in the same city. Looks like that overseas education isn't anything to sneeze at. I really think that what you're saying is wonderful. So do you know about the porcupine dilemma or whatever that was called? Yep. I know about that from Evangelion. The porcupine dilemma. I'm surprised you've heard of such a thing. When two porcupines try to huddle together, they injure each other with the quills all over their body. They want to be close to their neighbors. But if they get too close, they'll end up hurting each other. In the end, even though they acknowledge each other as neighbors, it's desirable for them to keep a proper distance between themselves as they interact. At least that's how the fable goes. There's no need to get too close. If you do, both sides will end up hurt. Oh God, Ellen, you don't know what you're saying, man. You don't know what you're saying right now. I wonder if you'd have a different tune if you knew who you were talking to.
The Japanese think of the Chinese as obstinate guys who keep hating us for the war, no matter how much time passes.
I mean, it's only been like, what, 5 years at most? You gotta wait at least like 3 or 4 generations, man. And then it becomes history, you know, rather than something that is in the people's mindset.
Chinese think of the Japanese as ungrateful people who don't thank the Chinese enough for postponing the revenge that the Japanese deserve.
And why don't the Japanese keep giving honest apologies? And just keep saying they regret starting the war.
I think that's the right thing to do. I think Japan will continue to do that in the near future, and it'll eventually calm down. That's like watering plants in a desert. It'll never end. It'll be fine for us in the war generation. The future Japanese people born after the war won't understand why they're apologizing for a war they had nothing to do with.
I mean, their parents will explain it to them. And then later on, their grandparents. It's only after that where things will gradually fade away, but through each of those successive generations, it'll become less and less of a major thing until it becomes something understood in their history. Like, look at Germany right now, you know?
They'd be treated more or less like slaves, forced to eternally pay off a debt they carry since the time of their birth.
I mean, yeah. I'm sure even the Chinese wouldn't go that far. Yeah, Alan is not... Yeah, Alan's not considering the fact that it'll die down a bit with each successive generation until it just becomes something understood in the culture that doesn't have to be said. It's like my ancestors were like brutally like killed by Germany in like many decades ago, almost over half a century ago, but I don't hate modern Germany. It's you know, things cool down over time, you know. The Chinese just want to see a heartfelt apology from the Japanese, I think. They certainly don't want to make them slaves.
I wonder, in the first place, if there's some agreed upon line, or if the Japanese do this much, the Chinese will forgive them? There is nothing like that. They're only postponing their anger while the Japanese are curled up as a defeated nation.
I mean, there kind of is when the generations die down, you know? And it's like about a change in attitude. Like, again, like how Germany did.
They'll never forgive. That's all. And so, it's impossible for the Japanese and Chinese to ever understand each other.
Well, if you really, really feel that way, I guess I'm gonna break up with you. What?
QED.
Bang. It was the sound of Mei Shui slamming her hands against the table and rising to her feet. I agree, Alex. Yeah. It's, yeah, it does feel like, especially when he mentions things like from 1978 and shit, like Ryukishi probably putting parts of modern attitudes into the story, even if they don't quite fit. It rang throughout the restaurant, and all the waiters and customers turned to look. Why are you making so many one-sided assumptions about the Chinese? Yuki-chan? Yeah, there was a war and a whole lot of people died. I'm sure there's all sorts of grudges from that which can never be wiped away. We'd still be able to understand each other. We've interacted with each other for over 1,000 years, right? We shared many bits of culture and advanced our own particular cultures, making us like a family that acknowledges one another. It's idiotic that those 1,000 years of interaction and friendship could all be lost because of a single war. Of course, I know there's a lot of anger and sadness out there that can never be healed. A lot of Chinese and Japanese people were hurt. They bore resentment and sadness. I knew they wouldn't even want to look at each other for some time. In that case, we just need to give them some time to cool their heads and start back at square one looking for a way to hold hands again. So, what gives you the right and qualification to decide on your own that we'll never understand each other?
Wow. I guess I touched a nerve.
Mei Shui's shoulders heaved with her breathing, and tears fell from her eyes. A feeling of intense regret rushed through Alan. He hadn't said that because he wanted to make her look like this. She took her wallet out of her handbag, put a new 500 Japanese dollar note on the table, and spun around. However, she tripped on the high heels that she still wasn't used to wearing and crouched down to the ground. Alan rushed towards her and offered a hand, but Mei Shui slapped it away, sobbing, "Ooh." Alan couldn't do anything but stand there, stunned. That is true, Mystery Theater. Yeah, it's only 1949. It's like, it's hard to remember that sometimes when Ryukishi is going a bit forward and like mentioning shit from 1978. One of the meeting rooms in the occupying forces headquarters was a mess. Countless American soldiers, oh, back to this guy here. Countless American soldiers were carrying in cardboard boxes packed with papers, meeting desks and blackboards. A massive map of City 23 was on display. On it, the bases and areas of influence held by all of Primavera's crews were drawn in detail. Next to that, pictures of the faces of Primavera's executives were laid out in a pyramid, with red lines connecting them. That is true, Zarmegas, yeah. But I'm gonna say, yeah, it's the attitude's not getting better. Probably has to do a lot more with, I think by this time, I think it has a lot to do with more in our reality. It has a lot to do more with China's system of government, the way it does things, than on the Japanese side. At the top was Madame Rose Haibara. To her right was Consigliere Richard Mayogi. Below Rose was Grand Boss Cyrus Saimura. As he traveled below him, it radiated out into the bosses of all the crews. In the same way, face shots of the GDS executives were posted separately, with Sons Along at the top, and the young executives made you included beneath him. The once bleak conference room had been reborn as the secret planning room of the anti-organized crime team led by Gabriel. He even has an angelic name. As he looked at all the materials posted on the wall, Butler was amazed at how well researched they were.
If you know this much, you hardly need me.
That's not at all the case. It's vital to have information from someone who's acquainted with them and has even connected with them privately.
Nothing private about it. This is all my official work, Major.
Their personalities, hobbies, patterns of behavior, family relationships and friend relationships. There's no such thing as too much information. All the paperwork brought into this room is bloodless. You are the one who will finally bring it to life. Almost like a baby swan waking from its sleep.
Don't tell me. You mean to do your job for real?
My job is eradicating organized crime. After all. Yep, he's the new boss. It's very easy to imagine the feud between Primavera and the GDS influencing the GHQ's rule of Tokyo.
You must be joking. The GDS maybe, but Primavera? It's just a slightly disreputable citizens organization led by a dreamer girl who prattles on about ideals.
Whoa! Now we know Butler's real thoughts, or maybe he's trying to help protect them. I don't know. Phil, let's put a stop to all farces between us, seeing as how we both despise them. Yeah, he gets that he's trying to protect them. I see. Know that you will be punished if you break this rule.
Uh-oh. I haven't been punished since I had my ass hit by a teacher's cane in school.
In the first place, I reject the whole concept of a necessary evil. I don't feel any need for organizations such as Mafia to exist.
Oh, really? They're gonna be pretty useful.
Oh, and what use can they be?
When your superior's birthday is coming up, you just make a single phone call and they can get him a birthday cake, a bed, and 3 naked beauties.
According to my information, you received 3 women on your last birthday that were requested to have a bust size over 90. Or was it 5? Forgive me, my memory on the matter is vague.
Wait, really? Guess I'm no match for you, Major.
Apparently, Gabriel had been secretly investigating City 23 for over a year. The GHQ, feeling threatened by the rise of the Caleb family at the time, had probably been secretly investigating City 23 since then. Surely the subject of their observation had switched to Primavera after that. They had probably investigated on their own, knowing that City 23 Occupying Forces HQ was deep in bed with Primavera. Butler hadn't wanted to believe it at first, but this man probably did have actual evidence of Butler's corruption. However, he still couldn't level accusations against Butler. Because Butler had evidence of corruption by important people in the GHQ. That's right, he had the evidence of all that shit that they were planning to do to Primavera. By now, Butler was getting into the habit of showing a negligent attitude, somewhere in between exasperation and resignation. Also, he knew about the council's interactions with the American mafia too. Gabriel couldn't kill him, but he was stuck in a cage from which there was no escape. He couldn't play dumb or confuse the issue. He was basically at the point of saying whatever happens, happens. Butler wasn't the only one in this situation. The high officials in the occupying forces HQ, from the Director General downward, had all been profiting from their positions. All of them were being forced to live with the sensation of this man's cold knife at their necks. By now, no one in this HQ could talk back to Gabriel. He had even announced he would postpone his punishment of them, as long as they didn't get in his way. Even the Director General had to avert his gaze and quickly walk away whenever Gabriel was around. They had petitioned GHQ officials with whom they had corrupt relations for Gabriel's dismissal. And they searched for other weaknesses in various limited ways, but all their efforts ended in failure. This man's history was as pure white as fresh morning snow, without any wounds or stains. An excellent record, irreproachable conduct. He was an elite among elites who had received several awards. Oh, most certainly, Mystery Theater. They are without a doubt getting around the phrase, "It can't be helped." I can tell. And it's awesome. I do appreciate that. Given that, they wanted to find a weakness among his relatives, but he had no family. His only relatives were on his mother's side. That mother came from a famous family line which included senators and governors. He had no weaknesses. It's true that bad people are good at trapping good people, but there's no way to meddle with a good person so fastidious that he doesn't even have a single stain on him. You see, I hate the mafia.
Maybe you should try throwing some dirt at those villains on the wall.
It seems some in the upper echelons think, like you do, that mafias can be useful if properly tamed. But to me, the mafia are an absolute evil, like Satan. I believe they are a wicked group that must not be spoken to, much less negotiated with. I'm confident that sending them from this earth to hell is an absolute mission given to me by God.
Do you have a grudge against the mafia or something?
Yes, I do. You see, I want to stain these hands red with mafia blood. Damn, I can't wait to see his fighting sprites. Like, holy shit. I can say that, like, to prove just how strong he is, he's gonna be able to take down a major character with, like, no effort. He seems like one of those kind of super strong nemesis that like just show how strong he is. He's gonna be able to take down a major character that we know with next to no effort. And the chapter might end with that, and with a hint of Leo finally coming back. After all of my accomplishments and efforts until this day have been for the sole purpose of achieving that goal.
Oh, come on. That's a spicy joke for such a pretty face.
Whoa! Butler! Diggity dang to dang, I had no idea. It most certainly is not a joke. I may use my authority in any methods that I please to destroy criminal organizations. Do you realize how hard I've worked to get a chance to hear those words?
This guy's serious.
Maybe the fastidious nature brought about by his good upbringing had caused him to ruthlessly despise the dark side of human society. He is a paladin to the core. This Gabriel Cabaraya was serious. Oh, he is also part Japanese. He hated the mafia, and he stated truthfully that he didn't mind staining his hands with blood if it meant destroying them. For the first time, this man made Butler shudder. Butler had looked down on him for being apparently a well-raised rich kid, but that wasn't right at all. This man only seemed to have a well-bred, fastidious beauty because he was so straightforward. Filled with an absolutely straightforward madness that made him want to murder everyone in the criminal underworld. Yeah, he is. It's like, yeah, he is one of those, like, ultra lawful paladins, basically. Yeah, Butler's old instincts were warning him, yeah. They warned him against ever dealing with such a man. Ah, that's right. This is the thing from Movie Neko, isn't it? Like, the swirly background.
That's right. If he weren't my superior officer, I'd definitely run for it.
You can sense his murderous intent. Phil, I'm aware that you are not a good person.
Well, I'm just a money and boob fanatic. Don't kill me.
That is good. Now, we can finally speak honestly. Villains who do not admit to being villains are ugly. You have finally become beautiful.
Oh, God. So, given that I'm not a good person, what happens next?
As you yourself claim, you are a money worshipper without doubt. You love money.
Isn't that the same as justice in our capitalist USA? Yeah, I was gonna say.
True. Changing policies to maximize gain is the justice of our fatherland. So I want you to follow the rules of that justice.
Huh?
I want your assistance in my task. Though that would mean betraying the mafias you have colluded with up until now. However, can give you more profit than they can. Therefore, is it not just that you betray them and obey me?
You're telling me to betray Rose, John, and the others.
Don't tell me you feel love or friendship for her.
Well, you know, love with the lady of the evening is always an illusion.
I can say confidently that aiding me in my task will bring you profit. I think you should get that in writing, Butler, because with a guy as hopped up on morality as this guy, I don't know if he's talking about profit in the same way you would think of profit. In the same way, I can say confidently that I can bring you unimaginable losses if you disobey me.
Guess I'd rather not imagine what sort of losses those might be.
Phil, this is an order. Obey me. Though if you are wise, you ought to realize that your wings have been clipped.
In Japan, we call that being a crab on the chopping board. Huh? Or was it a Carassius carp or a tuna?
I believe it was the koi fish. Not a very elegant metaphor, so I chose to avoid it. Ah, yes. Have you learned what they whisper sometimes in their criminal underworld? That the human world is controlled by 3 forms of power.
Pretty sure someone told me somewhere along the line. Influence, wealth, and force, right?
I find it an interesting concept. It does have a sort of logic to it. No one would serve a king without influence. No one would serve a king without wealth. A king without violence would also be served by no one.
Pretty funny that people wouldn't listen to him even if he had wealth and influence.
Might that not lead us to the conclusion that violence alone is enough?
That's right.
This anonymous underworld fable appears at first glance to argue that force or violence is just one of the elements that compose society. But in actual fact, it includes the implication, known only to them, that violence alone is enough to control the human world.
True. Violence is the strongest. If Truman, Rockefeller, and a punk with a handgun all got into a fight, even a kid could guess who'd win.
A president, a petroleum king, and a punk. The victor would be the one with violence on their side. Knowing this, the man with influence and the man with wealth would use their respective privileges to gain the protection of the man with violence. Humanity has given birth to many privileges that can be described numerically and in writing. However, in the end, none of those can stand up to violence. They can only be in exchange for violence by hiring bodyguards and buying weapons, protecting the user by showing off their superior violence to their opponent. Violence couldn't be allowed, because it always turns negotiations in their favor. Going back to your example with the President, Petroleum King and Punk. When the Punk pulls out his gun and says, "I'm going to kill you," what will the President and Petroleum King do? They would probably negotiate, offer to share the privileges they possess in exchange for the Punk's naked violence. The President would probably ask to be spared in exchange for making the Punk's dream come true. The Petroleum King would probably ask to be spared in exchange for whatever sum of money the Punk wanted. However, this deal would not take place on an even playing field. The Punk with the gun possessed the right to accept or deny its proposal, or raise the price or anything else. If his anger was so great that he didn't even feel like negotiating, the President and the Petroleum King would die just the same as anyone else. That is why violence is anti-civilized, inhumane, and unforgivable. It's simply survival of the fittest. Life at its most bestial. In fact, the power of Satan. It's a grave sin against God and humanity, one which denies the eternity of our cultural history. Wiping such people off the face of the earth is the mission God has given to humanity. Going against this mission is not to be tolerated. I'm sure you've already aware of how sinful these criminal organizations are.
Like hell, Primavera couldn't kill anyone if they tried.
With violence as their only source of power.
Yes, of course, sir.
Ooh, sir. Wow, he's definitely realizing that he's not in a good situation. Very well. Ooh, are we gonna get to Leo coming back? Oh my god, they're at the boats. Okay, you guys, I'm not gonna go, don't worry, I just need to take a quick bathroom break. I will be right back. All right, we're back. I really hope this little section here is gonna be about Davis and Alfred, maybe. Like, Davis meeting Leo, and Alfred will be like, oh my god, it's Leo. And, like, Davis doesn't know who that is, and they get their asses kicked or something.
Hey, Alfred. My bottom buddy. Whoa. Oh, long time no see. Nice to meet you. You always bring me such interesting stories. I've been looking for a chance to bring money on Primavera for so long. I've been planning all this time, hoping to help you, my dear friend, really rake it in.
Though Davis had never thought anything of the sort, he spoke shamelessly.
Primavera really did a number on me. I fell out the fucking window. I lost everything. Started from square one. Got money. And finally, it's time for revenge. Thanks to you, it looks like I'll finally get a chance to teach them a lesson.
Just like he had done in the old days, Alfred was now surrounded by henchmen and radiating a boss's aura. Of course, his force wasn't large enough to be called a family, but it was still something Primavera couldn't afford to ignore. If only they had fucking killed him.
Those Wushins are all fools. They all fell for my spiel, hook, line, and sinker. Now, unless they keep me happy, Primavera will never be able to set up their distribution association. By the way, about our respective shares. We did say we split the 8 million 40-60, but that didn't cover expenses. Oh, sorry. That's not what I came to talk to you about today. You see...
Oh, he's being bumped off. Oh my god.
Richard has decided to negotiate with me directly. And it feels like that is going very, very, very well. So, we are gonna negotiate here now. Please move to a different hideout, okay? Oh, I see. Well, I better not show my face around those Primavera guys right now.
Ooh, oh, yeah, he's being taken for a ride. Oh boy.
Get in the car up front. You got it. Well then, I'm counting on you. Once you show up, they'll definitely pay up, and please don't kill me. Sure. Bye-bye for now, my friend. Well, I wouldn't have minded if you let him join us. I've proven that I possess the article in question. Yes? I will now return our merchandise to the vault until our negotiations are complete. I see. So scum is scum after all. So that's why no one trusts you.
Richard and Wayne slowly appear from the shadows. They have been shown Davis clearly. In that way, Alfred had proven that he possessed Davis. In other words, the negotiation table between them had been set up. Oh my god, so he's giving them Davis to be brought back into his own fold again, like, as permission. Richard has brought no one but his driver/guard Wayne. As skillful as Wayne was, Richard had arrived practically undefended. Alfred approached the table covered with bottles and cigarette butts, then violently knocked everything off of it. Then he patted the tablecloth as though it were hanging out to dry, straightened it, and humbly motioned for them to be seated like a waiter.
Of course. That attaché case is filled with money, yes? Of course. Would you like to check? Wait, if you would.
Wayne set the heavy attaché case he had been holding on the table. When he unlocked and opened it, it became clear to everyone that it was packed with bills, laid out as beautifully as tiles. Then he held it in front of Alfred.
Oh, that's a bit surprising. What is? You're the one who said he wanted money. Well, yes, of course, that. But I'm surprised to find you so obedient. The Primavera behind you was a stronger family with more backbone. I'm happy and a little sad. A strange feeling. A man's heart is a complicated thing. I understand, my friend. Remember how we ran wild in your club really takes me back. We almost murdered you all.
Though Alfred had been wiped out in a flash thanks to Leo Shigami's actions, before that hero had appeared, the relationship of threats between Alfred family and Richard had continued for a long time. They had known each other for a surprisingly long while. At first, Richard had shown his understanding for the need to pay the money. And Alfred had viewed his ongoing relationship with Richard as a way to make them pay bodyguard fees. Since each acknowledged the other as negotiation partners, the atmosphere between them when they were alone was surprisingly friendly. In the end, when Madame Rose had made her decision, their relationship had changed. However, up until then, they had met several times for under-the-table negotiations, and an old inseparable relationship. Of course, that friendliness was only in the mood, and their interactions had never left room for an actual friendship to blossom.
Seeing that you're willing to hand over so much so easily. This distribution association you're planning must be quite the money tree. Obviously, it means we'll single-handedly control all distribution throughout City 23's Japanese colony. None of the merchants will be able to disobey us. Moreover, we'll be able to rake in money by simply moving things from one place to another. However, have you ever heard of such a delicious prospect? Oh, I'm surprised. It seems you've become quite the bad boy, haven't you?
Wayne was just as surprised as Alfred. Establishing a distribution association was supposed to be a defensive technique to ward off economic invasions against their countrymen. Madame Rose had absolutely no intention of using it as a way to squeeze money out of her countrymen. But Wayne didn't let it show on his face. He figured it out quickly. This was Richard's style of negotiation. Negotiation means convincing your opponent. In other words, it means stepping into their ring. People who could sympathize, another typo, with Madame Rose's ideals could be convinced by simply hearing about them from Madame Rose herself. However, that would absolutely have no effect on villains who broke out in hives whenever they heard so-called cheap talk. In that case, to convince a villain, you had to step into that villain's ring. Okay, so he's just bluffing. Wrapped in the evil aura of City 23's largest mafia, is consigliere. Richard calmly spoke as a moral part.
That's Richard's son for you. That's why you're our consigliere.
And as Wayne was applauding inside his head, he saw the white cue card hidden behind Richard's hand and smiled wryly.
By the way, Alfred, there's one thing you seem to have misunderstood. What? We did not bring money here because we want to make a deal with Davis. Bad boy. I see. So you're offering to pay me more than my share. if I hand over Davis?
Practically speaking, Davis was demanding that Primavera pay 8 million Japanese dollars. I see. Yeah, that's a simple negotiation right there. Alfred's share was 60% of that, 4.8 million Japanese dollars. If they offered Alfred more than that, he would have no reason to support Davis. Of course, Alfred had been fully aware that such a deal might be proposed. He had indeed made tons of money from deals Davis had brought to him. But he is crazy Alfred. However, he had long since realized that Davis was simply trying to force him on a situation that had gone out of hand. If he could gain enough money, he'd sell off that swindler in a heartbeat. Alfred had been thinking it was about time to do that.
There are 10 million Japanese dollars in this attaché case. Oh, that's enough super big money to blind the eyes.
4.8 had become 10 million. Perfect. They're apparently running out of time. It's probably worth it to them to resolve the problem with the amount of money, instead of letting things get worse. He wanted to wring even more out of them, but that was a good number. It was more than enough for the price of that swindler.
Very good. The deal is complete. Pray I don't alter it further. Mr. Degawa, you've been sold to Primavera. Please wait. Actually, the amount of money that we're willing to pay for Davis Degawa is only this much. Whoa.
What's going on? Richard pulled a single stack from the attaché case. Then he pulled, oh my god, then he pulled a single bill out of that stack and set it before Alfred.
Scum like him is hardly worth more than any of this, wouldn't you say? $1,000. What a waste for a man like that. Feels like I should be offering you some change.
Oh my god, Alfred is just... When they saw their boss laughing happily, his underlings started guffawing too. Richard laughed as well, so Wayne decided to match the mood and laughed too. When the laughter died down, Alfred shrugged and patted the stacks of bills in the attaché case.
So, what are the remaining 9,999,000 for? Don't tell me. You plan to take it home with you. Alfred, we're through talking about Davis. Now let's talk about you and me. Oh? Both now and in the past, no man in City 23's underworld has been feared as much as you.
Oh, are we gonna recruit Alfred?
Even Caleb never dreamed of controlling City 23 until your downfall. Because of that unique style of speech, you haven't been appreciated at your full worth. But you are without a doubt the strongest man in City 23. I'll take it you're excluding Leo Shishigami.
He doesn't know. Yeah, Leo's gone. I hope he'll be back soon.
And strength aside, your courage is as remarkable as well. You fear no one, no matter who they be, and you are always willing to even go down in flames, taking them with you. How could one describe you, except as the ideal man of the criminal underworld? I never thought I'd hear compliments coming from you. I see. So you're asking me to join Primavera? My apologies, but I won't. That's definite. It will not change. I know. You would never join Primavera. I know how you feel. Oh?
What did Richard understand about him? Alfred seemed filled with interest. However, Richard didn't answer, and slowly lifted his gaze to the ceiling.
Come to think of it, among the many creatures of the criminal underworld, has there ever been someone as honest as you? Even before joining Primavera, I became across many people as a moneylender. Please lend me money. I'll definitely pay you back.
A big man came crawling to him with tears in his eyes. Richard explained all the conditions and lent him money on an agreement of mutual consent. However, that money never came back. Before the day was out, he already run away in the night. Please lend me money. I'll definitely pay you back. A woman with a child came crawling to him with tears in her eyes. However, she had no means of repaying the loan, and Richard had discovered that she had repeatedly borrowed and run away from other lenders. Richard refused her, recommending that she seek care from public institutions, but there were apparently some circumstances that led her to firmly refusing that. In the end, the woman denounced Richard as a cold-hearted monster and burned herself to death in the middle of the street. Jeez. The child she had with her was now missing. If he was still alive, that child might be around 7 by now. He might show up Sunday with a handgun, thinking of Richard as the man responsible for his mother's death. Such nightmares had tormented Richard at times.
Oh. Deciding whether to trust people or not is the most boring gamble. I agree. Do you trust them or not? Worrying about such a thing has no end.
Alfred nodded seriously. To Wayne, this was a bit unexpected. So even Alfred sometimes worried about his trust being betrayed.
After that happened multiple times, I found a certain standard by which to measure how trustworthy a person is. Interesting. I'd like to hear it too. It's whether that person is honest to themselves, how straightforward their lifestyle is. In this world, there are too many people who change themselves whether whenever it's convenient, calling it the trick to living wisely. They cross between benevolence and hypocrisy, depending on their current mood. They're sometimes good people and sometimes bad people. Too many people can easily switch between the two. If you criticize them for their wrongdoings, they claim to be good people and grow angry. And when you ask them to do good, they deny being good people and call themselves realists. And when you try to treat them like realists, then they sob and call you heartless, emotionless. And when you decide to lend the money just this once, poof, they're gone. I hate people like that too. That's why you don't like Rose. You're sure she's just another hypocrite. You're sure it's just cheap talk. You want to expose her for what she is. You want to wrench her true feelings out of her. That's why you want to stand against Primavera. No. It's true I thought that once. But I don't know. I've watched her these 2 years. I was sure she'd be exposed sooner or later. About ready to give up? I surrendered long ago. She's serious. She's serious when she speaks about the future of her countrymen. Rose-san is no more or no less than she seems. If you told me she really was an angel, I wouldn't doubt it. For the first time, I agree with Mr. Wayne. Same here. Right now, I truly can't believe that Madame Rose is a human who creeps and vomits like the rest of us.
Alfred chuckled. Richard did too. Watching this, Alfred's underlings were a little surprised. Alfred was a man who used even laughter as a weapon of intimidation. The more he laughed, the more terrifying he would look when he yelled at the end. They had seen this happen over and over again. However, right now, Alfred was truly laughing in agreement, without any intention of threatening his opponent. After all, he was speaking with an exec from an opposing family. They were hesitant and surprised at this behavior, which they were seeing for the first time.
Good people should act good, and villains should live like villains. I find people who cannot stick to one thing with conviction truly detestable. That's why I cannot hate you. I've even come to think you as a man worthy of respect. It's not bad being flattered by the consigliere and the great Primavera family. Because you are so straightforward, I can understand your heart well. You won't join Primavera because you can't accept Rose. And for one more reason. You want to fight Leo Shishigami again, don't you?
Ooh. Alfred's confident expression went stiff for a second. However, it didn't seem as though his anger had been aroused. He looked like a kid who's had a parent see through a lie of his for the first time.
Why else would you have returned to the criminal underworld? You want to cross fists with Leo again, so you won't join his side. That's how you truly feel. It's your straightforward, unadulterated intention, which is worthy of respect.
Alfred laughed so hard he fell from his chair. He laughed and laughed. Then he shook his head several times and slowly shrugged. That's right. He'd been waiting for Leo to return. Just as much as Rose had. Oh my god! On that day, they communicated with their bodies as men. Wow. That sounds... The content. You need context! His heart, which he assumed he could never be understood by anyone, had certainly been understood by Leo alone. He still hadn't forgotten the speaking of the soul on that day.
If you become my friend, I can give you a chance to fight when Leo returns. Richard's son. He's a flexible man. I'm certain he'll be willing. I should have done this in the beginning. Oh, I should have done this in the beginning.
Wayne shrugged. Richard was certain. Alfred's feelings toward Leo were close to longing. Of course, it wasn't like he wanted to go out with Leo and enjoy their reunion. He meant it in the way of lone wolves living in the criminal underworld. He probably felt exactly the same way as Wayne. After being seen through so easily, Alfred shrugged as though giving up.
I can't hide anything from you. That's my friend for you. I see a long acquaintance counts for something. Alfred?
This time shall we truly become friends. You're a proud man who holds his flag high above his own territory. I could never force you to undergo the humiliation of lowering your flag and raising Primaveras. You should remain Alfred of the Alfred family. You wouldn't be you otherwise. Remain yourself. I want you to remain as the man I respect most, who is straightforward and always stays true to his convictions. Richard. Isn't it time our relationship changed from reluctance to open friendship? You don't need to join Primavera. But I want you to become my friend. Ah. Primavera will not harm you. You may build up your castle of villains as you please. I want you to use this money to construct your castle as a sign of the friendship between you and me. In other words, you want me to form an alliance with Primavera. I told you Primavera has nothing to do with this. It will be based on our personal, equal feelings of friendship. Brother. Incredible! What's going on? So basically, our boss has been acknowledged by Primavera's consigliere. Yeah, I was not expecting the Alfred redemption arc as well. Mystery Theater. That Richard Mayogi is dealing with our boss as an equal brother. If this had been a conversation between mere punks, it would be a joke. However, when it was Richard and Alfred, two big names in the criminal underworld, it took on a whole new meaning. Alfred slowly rose and crouched down in front of the pile of bottles and ashtrays he had knocked off the table earlier. Then he took another wine bottle that was rolling on the floor and set it at the center of the table. Oh, what have I done? My mind's gone blank at this sudden love call. Ah! It makes me think becoming friends with you wouldn't be so bad. However, I would like a little time to settle my heart on this. Sorry. Even I think it's embarrassing. I can't answer you right now. It's oh my god, it's like a freaking romance thing. I don't mind. You're all you, but you're always also the boss of the Alfred family. You probably need to hear the thoughts of your underlings as well. Richard calmly looked at the men surrounding him. However, their answer was clear. After all, the top family in City 33 had come calling with incredibly favorable conditions. After all, these underworld dropouts who hadn't joined Primavera had been guaranteed equal status. They all had red cheeks like a Cinderella who'd just been proposed to. The next moment, Alfred's lightning-fast knife was out of his pocket. Wayne put his hand on the gun in his pocket in the same instant, but then he stopped. It certainly was a knife, but its blade was folded down. It was a multi-purpose knife. Right now, the corkscrew was extended to the knife part. As fast as ever, I see. Wow! You haven't lost the touch. Please wait for my answer on whether I become a friend or not. Hopefully I don't get killed by some angel guy before that. But right now, I feel like sharing a drink with you. I would be happy to. You should join us, Wayne. I'll be in the car. Jesus, Louises, Creases, all these villains getting redeemed. Oh, Mr. Wayne, I didn't hear you were old enough to drink. I'm an adult! time, everyone roared with laughter, even the underlings. Alfred dexterously removed the cork, then put the bottle to his mouth and drank. Then after a big gulp, he handed it to Richard.
I never thought a day like this would come. Life is funny. I agree. Living and building a future is such an amusing thing. Cheers.
Car stopped in front of the park. Richard was the one who came out.
Please take the money back to my office. Good work today. I can't believe that Alfred didn't take the money. He's a faithful man. Even he has a cute side to him, don't you think?
Alfred hadn't accepted the attaché case with the money. That money was supposed to be a sign of their friendship, so he couldn't take it while he was still pondering his answer. I think he might get killed before he gets to give his answer. Maybe by Gabriel. He might be like the first target of Gabriel, like to like test his power and show how powerful Gabriel is. Wayne half believed that Crazy Alfred was a lizard in human form. He wasn't a person you could even talk normally with, much less become friends with. That's what he had believed.
I never imagined you able to sweet talk that crazy man. I guess it's the power of money. Or is it because of your talent? Not at all. It's because of Yuji. Huh?
He spotted Yuji and Stella among the kids playing in the park, not part. Wayne never paid Yuji much attention, but he remembered him well as the baby who could do nothing but cry 2 years ago. However, Yuji was now playing in the sandbox with all the other kids. He was able to display his self-will, take action on his own, annoy Stella, and even make her laugh. To Wayne, it had just been 2 years. Nothing in particular had changed. However, to a baby, those 2 years are so incredibly packed. He couldn't help but sigh in surprise.
During these 2 years, it's become clear to me that knowing how to care for children is helpful for knowing the human world. You think I'm just talking about how to care for a baby? Not at all. Why is he crying? What doesn't he like? Why is he happy and what does he want from me? There could be no greater training for interpersonal relationships than trying to make sense of a baby's ahs and oohs, nees and yahs. And this helped during today's negotiations? People are children no matter how old they get, especially if they're single. When you're able to understand how children feel, you naturally become able to understand how adults think and how to soothe them. That's Richard's son for you. Treating even Crazy Alfred like a kid. Then you also learn how meaningless it is to make enemies. When I was alone, it didn't matter how many enemies I made. However, that changes when you're able to protect someone. If I had taken Crazy Alfred's invitation to fight and start a feud, what if he had tried to steal the thing most precious to me in revenge? I don't even want to think about it. It's so easy to attack and cause harm. But in these 2 years, he had personally experienced how hard it was to protect, especially when protecting something other than yourself. As you gain more things that are precious to you, you become less able to pick fights. And then, naturally, it led me to thinking that I'd rather have Alfred as a friend.
Richard hasn't sought friendship with Alfred for some tactical reason regarding the underworld balance of power. Part of him truly wanted to repair his relationship with Crazy Alfred. That was why Richard's proposal of friendship had Alfred so flustered. As a villain among villains, he had seen the eyes of scum many times. For that reason, he must have sensed something in Richard's eyes that he had never seen before.
Do you think today would have gone badly if you hadn't raised Yuji-kun? I believe so. You will probably be blessed with a child too someday. Then you'll understand. No way that a wild early wolf like myself will ever find a partner.
I do wonder. That's something that has to happen. I do wonder who's Wayne is gonna marry.
Everyone says that when they're young. Even Stella had been saying it wouldn't be so bad to get married lately. Find love, young man. It's about time I started hearing your stories.
I wonder.
Oh. Well, he did go on to have 3 kids, though.
Oh, what? Is that true? So Wayne gets married to who?
How else would I have gotten born? What, did you think I spread out of a potted plant?
No, not at all. Even Wayne managed to get married while I still don't even have a boyfriend! A policy of bachelorhood is the final rebellious stage young people have, and one they ought to get over quickly. In other words, even he became an adult in the end. When Toratsugu brought in tea and mentioned that Wayne had 3 children, Julie was astonished. Which meant actually there was one question she had to ask. Yes, who? So Wayne, no, I mean Advisor Udera. Who did he end up marrying?
Well, that's something I can't just tell you directly. It'll spoil the story. What a shame. And if you'd register with my invitation ID, I'd be able to tell you.
I will do it soon! Oh. No, this has got to... Oh, they got it wrong. That can't be Toratsugu saying that. This has got to be Julie. So at least tell me if the girls show up in the story yet. That's exactly what I would say. And at that moment, there was a knock at the door, and the person in question's voice drifted in.
Madam, forgive me for interrupting while you're talking.
Not too bad, Julie. That'll have to wait until later. Diggity dang it! Advisor Uedera, why'd you have to walk in then?
I'll be taking my leave then. If Alfred agrees, then we practically have Davis in the cutting board.
Something's gonna go wrong. It's gonna be freaking Gabriel who's probably gonna kill Alfred. Gonna be the first actual death in the story. Wayne's car sped off. Stella had already noticed Richard's arrival. Didn't you have to work today, brother?
I just finished. I just happened to be in the area, so I decided to drop by.
The consigliere. Isn't it a bit dangerous to be out without guards?
Oh, who might you be?
He's a new friend of mine. He said he's with Maurice's son.
Oh, from battalion. Do you have the day off?
It's my job to get called by them whenever it's convenient for him.
Oh, that sounds difficult. I'll have to tell Maurice to show some consideration for his subordinates.
Yuji seemed to be totally comfortable around Keith. Though Yuji was supposedly shy, he treated Keith like family. Because he saw this, Richard wasn't suspicious of Keith, even though they were meeting for the first time. I don't know when this scene is gonna end. Come on, Yuji. Papa's back. Say welcome back, Papa, okay? No! Yuji-kun. If you say welcome back, Papa, Papa will be happy. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. When Keith tickled Yuji, the kid giggled and wriggled and grabbed onto Keith's leg.
Yuji, it's getting chilly out. Shall we go home?
No, no! You still haven't played enough. I'll play more. He really likes you. He looks forward to meeting you at the park every day. For a while, Yuji sumo wrestled with Keith's leg, The sandbox suddenly caught his attention and he ran away. Finally released from the child typhoon, Stella sighed. He really is fickle. His interest shifts from one thing to another. He keeps getting more self-centered. I'm barely hanging in there.
When you try to feed him, he says no. When you try to change his clothes, he says no. He keeps saying no when there are adults say anything. Even though he used to be so obedient.
I hear that's called developing his self-will. When they're born, they're nothing more than animals eat and sleep, then they get self-will. I think it's incredible. I hear this guy's had to take care of little brothers in his hometown, all of whom were much younger than him. Her family had a lot of kids. For me, it was just normal to take care of my little brothers while carrying a baby on my back.
And that explains it. I was noticing how good you were at playing with Yuji.
I love kids after all. They hold the chance to make any dream come true. It's so much fun to imagine the limitless futures for these kids.
I agree. And it's both exciting and worrying to wonder how these children will grow and what sort of future they'll face.
That's what I love about kids. With these kids, I'm sure we have a good shot at turning this crappy country into one where neighbors truly help each other.
Children are the treasure of a nation. I understand that now.
Even though he'd been clinging to Stella and Keith so much a second ago, Yuji was now happily engrossed with playing himself in the sandbox. It was tiring to hover about him all the time, but it was also a bit lonely to see him start playing off on his own. Sheesh, his energy really is inexhaustible. Lately, Stella had been busier than she'd ever been before. At night, she attended association establishment meetings as Rose's representative, and she played with Yuji all day, every day, caring for him. With every day so excessively busy, Stella might have been wearing out alone. Her long hair, which she had once cared for diligently like it was a work of art, had now become damaged by the sun and dirty with dust. However, her smile shone more brightly than any she had worn as the lady of the evening. As the three of them gazed at Yuji, they sat down on a bench. That's right. There was something I want to ask the consigliere.
That depends on the question, but ask away.
I totally respect what Madame Rose is aiming for. After all, the old Japanese spirit of mutual support was a lie. It was all fake.
What harsh criticism.
They called it mutual support, but it was the old folks swindling the young. They were envious of the diligent and successful. Anyone who didn't stand side by side, everyone else was ostracized. If you stepped forward, they'd push you, and if you were slow, they'd still push you. They were jealous, scornful, the worst parts of humanity. That's what the Japanese truly are. Dang. I've experienced so much of it, I'm sick of it. He says he had a really rough time in a Siberian prison camp. He saw betrayal by his countrymen, ruthless treatment, and the deaths of several young people.
How sad. And did that lead to you losing hope in your countrymen?
Less losing hope and more being disillusioned. Well, everything turned to ash, you could say. That's why it was basically a relief when the great disaster occurred and the whole world was crushed. Then Madame Rose appeared. And she's trying to build a society where people truly help each other out. There is no one who cares more for their country more than that girl. You always hear company presidents and politicians say they'll raise wages, but none of them have been able to do it. That girl has made that dream come true, and without any thought of personal gain.
Though unfortunately, her efforts were crushed by outside forces who were not amused.
But Rose didn't give up. Right now, she's trying to build up ramparts to hold off those outside forces. America, China, Japan. She's trying to take that three-way deadlock with one clear loser and skillfully manipulate it to bring stability to the city. I'm sure now, after working close to her, I should have started helping her sooner. I'm ashamed of myself this past year, complaining that she was so hooked on playing games with Brother and Cyrus that she never held out of the club.
The Davis problem will be resolved soon. Once the association's establishment has been decided upon, the weight should be lifted from Rose's shoulders.
I won't humiliate myself like I did that day. All the documents and numbers have been beaten into my brain. I don't care whether they're American or Chinese merchants. Now that I'm in charge of this, I won't let them make me quit.
Of course. The Myogi siblings are ready. We will most certainly bring about the results Rose desires.
You two are surprisingly fired up. I thought you'd be more cold. Negotiations are fistfights with words, darling. Even Rose was stepping into the ring and firing off sharp jabs like everyone else.
Exchanging those fiery word jabs while simultaneously delivering cold, ruthless joint attacks is the Myogi siblings' specialty.
As long as Japan's side remains united, there's nothing more to stand in our way. We'll quickly get our act together and let everyone know that the last one to come aboard definitely stands to lose. Huh. You're pretty cool when you're fiery still, son. Both of you must respect Madame Rose from the bottom of your hearts, don't you?
But of course.
Please talk to Rose yourself if you get the chance. No, I mean, you should definitely talk to her. Otherwise, you won't know how serious she is. Well, I'm just a single-foot soldier. But still, yeah, if I get the chance, I'll do that. After all, I got a chance to meet someone as incredible as the consigliere. Of course I want to talk about this.
Come to think of it, you have a question for me, didn't you? Let's hear it.
This ideal society Madame Rose is aiming for. Do you really think it could be made real? Of course it can. I mean, we're gonna do it, so it can be done.
It is possible. That I can promise you.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't doubting that. That's not what I meant. I mean, will this ideal society be there for us to see while we're still alive? Stella tried hard to respond, but she had trouble sorting out what she would say. It rose to her lips and was then swallowed down several times. As Richard watched this, he grinned and answered.
If you're asking that, then I believe you've already reached an answer.
Then here's a different question. Will Yuji-kun be able to see that ideal society?
I would like for it to come true during Yuji's generation. However, I'm not so optimistic as to believe that will happen. I hope that I can entrust an ideal to Yuji, so that it will be passed down to our countrymen in the future.
Yeah, that's the most truthful answer.
What we're doing right now is not building an ideal society. We're making preparations so that our countrymen of the future will inherit the will, power, and privileges necessary to take up that job.
I see.
That is my honest answer. Did you find it unsatisfactory?
Huh? Not at all. It's the other way around. I didn't think you'd talk about it so honestly. After all, there's a lot of swindlers out there these days talking about fake ideals. As he said this, Keith rose to his feet. I once thought that the Japanese should be swallowed up by the Americans and Chinese and disappear. But that thought's gone away completely. How can we ever let them swallow us up? That's yet another reason why we must help each other as we live.
We must make the people understand that this is the only way to protect our culture and traditions in the future. We must not be destroyed. I am certain we will be reborn as a resilient Japanese people and survive.
Yeah. If we got destroyed now, that wouldn't be any fun. I'm starting to think it's worth fighting one more time. To pave the way to the future for those kids playing over there. Thanks, Keith. I feel the same. That's why I quit as Lady of the Evening. After quitting, I've been thinking. It's so boring to work for only your own sake. Now I'm living life to the fullest. Because I know how wonderful it is to be able to fight for our future countrymen. And for Yuji.
Yuji and the kids playing this park. They are that ideal society of ours, where people help each other. And I am certain they will pass on to their future, their countrymen, the strength and resilience needed to avoid being swallowed up by formidable foreign powers.
I've decided. I just made the big decision that I'll stick with Primavera forever. Sometimes I sort of thought I might get won over by some other group offering better treatment. But starting today, I decided to work for Primavera alone. I'm glad I got a chance to continue working with you. I'm sure Rose will be glad as well. Thanks.
I feel the same. It's an honor to have such a promising comrade. Come to think of it, I still haven't heard your name.
It's Keith Kisaragi. I've been doing some big work with Captain Butler lately. I'm sure a word of it's reached your ears, Consigliere.
Oh, that was you. I have heard of it. Reese introduced you as the most talented sniper.
A sniper? Now there's a surprise. You're an expert with guns? Well, I did hear that you were the best sniper among the 7 heroes, Stella. You're joking. That rumor's a lie. Leah would be laughing at me.
Keith, it pleases me to hear such reassuring words from you. Allow me to thank you in Madame Rose's place as consigliere.
I did not know this was going to be a whole nother scene. Oh my god.
I'm glad I have a chance to speak with you. I would like to speak with you again if the chance presents itself. However, is this meeting of ours a coincidence?
Guess you figured it out. I did meet Stella-san and Yuji here by coincidence. Then I figured if I stopped by here regularly, I might get a shot at meeting the consigliere someday. I'm pretty ambitious. I was hoping to sell myself a bit more, make it big, and start raking in the dough. He scratched his head and laughed without any trace of shyness. Even though he'd been plotting something dodgy, he confessed openly. That suddenly changing attitude was typical of Keith.
Ha 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 ha! What an honest young man. I can't say I dislike your sort.
Great. I get pretty serious about the kinds of people I can get along with and those I can't.
Very well. Once your current job is finished, why don't I invite you to the pasta gathering in honor of your service?
The pasta gathering? You mean that rumored meeting of Primavera execs? Well, it does seem to have become that somewhere down the line.
At the moment, being invited to participate in that is considered Primavera's highest honor, I believe.
And I'd like to introduce you to Rose and Meryl.
If you can form an acquaintance with the other bosses, your status in the family will rise. You should be able to find better treatment and better jobs.
Normally, the pasta gatherings could only be attended by those of crew boss status or higher. However, people who are being granted a special honor would sometimes be allowed to participate just once. That sort of special invitation to a pasta gathering was like receiving a medal in Primavera at that time. The bosses would be forced to honor the one whose participation had been granted and acknowledge their status. Of course, this meant that the bosses would get a chance to see them up close, which have plenty of opportunity for advancement. In some cases, it was even possible for people to be transferred to a different crew, where they would be given a higher rank. Even those 3 wandering dogs who had once been granted this honor are now moved on to separate crews where they receive special treatment. Oliver had regained his lost respect in the wild dogs and was now serving at Wayne's side. By now, he had been trusted with a section of Wayne's turf, becoming a mid-level leader with subordinates of his own. Wow! Charles had transferred to the Rich Bamboo. While working as an apprentice dealer, he said that he had learned several things behind the scenes as the boss's pet project. His talent had been acknowledged by those around him, and it was hoped he would grow to somebody to serve as the boss's right-hand man. Nina had gained respect within Meryl's faction and was now allowed to serve as an attendant to a famous high-class girl. She repeatedly came into contact with executives. Also, it was rumored that she was Madame Meryl's confidant, and she had enough respect that no one made fun of her dialect anymore. Awesome. Oh, so she's serving under Meryl. That's cool. I'm getting fired up. Hope we learn where our target's hiding soon.
They are not. We'll learn his location shortly.
Is this a conversation I should pretend I never heard?
It's about that Davis Tagawa. This young man and his partner, Alan Kuhn, are get experts in battalion-style negotiations.
Would these negotiations happen to come with the pop of a champagne cork? I like that metaphor. Now there is a former woman in the evening business for you. Even your examples are fancy. So, a pasta gathering is a reward. I can't stop shaking with excitement. Wonder what we'll hear about that hideout.
Alfred's a plain man. I doubt it will take long to hear his answer. At best, it may come tonight.
Okay. Oh, not yet. Oh, where's Mama? Ah! What could have happened? Yuji had suddenly started crying. Apparently he had fallen and scraped his knee slightly. Stella and Keith rushed forward and Yuji jumped at them, grabbing onto their legs. The scene keeps going. They calmed it down, getting his spirits up and saying it wasn't a wound worth crying over. Richard couldn't help but smile at the scene in front of him.
Keith, if you're interested, would you mind coming to eat with us now?
Yuji will be happy. Please come if you want to. Thanks for the offer, but I'm on call for that job right now.
Well, I believe the first news of that will reach me before it even reaches your boss, yes?
Oh, right. Did you hear that, Yuji? Big brother Keith says he's gonna eat with us. Yuji-kun, I'm gonna put my life on the line fighting for you.
Thanks to Yuji, we 3 single people have found a family.
It's all thanks to him. Thank you, Yuji. Sounds like we even get to eat together today. Pretty cool, huh? Okay. Alright, I made it. Oh my god. I somehow made it. Okay, you guys. I am so sorry. I did not expect that scene to last so long. But thank you so much for sticking with me. Woo! Okay. On Thursday, we will continue with Tales of Arise, and a big climax is going to be in that episode. Can't wait for that one. And we'll continue some more Rose Guns Days on Friday. Until then, I will say, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night. You're all the sweetest of hearts. See ya.